All right, welcome in everybody. I am Benjamin Parker. We have Robert Sabire with us tonight. I'm recording live from my set that we do the In the Flat podcast from for college football. So you can catch that on Apple or Spotify. You can catch Robertson's work on Phantom Sports, where he does a ton of writing and does a lot of stuff here. This is part of Phantom Sports as well. Good to have you with us, Robertson. How are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, Ben. I can't wait to hear your podcast. I'm not a big college football guy, but especially with this on NIL stuff, and we've talked about this, how NIL's impact on the game and all that. But I'm excited to hear your take on it because I've never invested the time in it before. Of really like trying to learn the game and the differences between the pro game and the college game. So I'm excited for your podcast. I really am.
It's one of those things, I think, right? And by the way, those of you in our audience who are waiting to hear our mid quarterback rankings, we'll get to them in just a second. It's one of those things, right? If you love something, even if you start to see blemishes and faults, you kind of just cling to the parts of it that you still love, right? So even as we watch college football start to get, it's always been big business, but as that big business starts to get right out in front where literally everybody can see it and nobody's even hiding it anymore, you just kind of have to ignore that and enjoy the game for what's still on the field, you know. So when Saturday shows up and all the teams are out there playing, and mom and pop and grandma are all out there in the stands, you kind of have to still enjoy that part in spite of what you know is going on every other hour of the week, right?
I'm a Washington Commander fan. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay, yeah, you can relate.
Totally, totally
I see the
relate.
parallels.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. We are working. We're all over the place in terms of these quarterbacks here. We are in the middle of the list now, and I haven't personally ranked the middle guys here. To me they're clustered so tightly together. I'll kind of put them in two buckets. We'll talk about that more as we go along here. Robertson, he's going to pick up here with his rankings, and I'm going to kind of work my way through off of those. So Robertson, tell us where we're leaving off, where we're picking up at, and let's get started, man.
So we just got finished. Well, not for us finished, but you just got finished watching. The viewer got finished watching our bottom tier guys. We're recording this in reverse, so it's kind of opposite for us. So now this is I'm calling this my meh tier. Like these are guys where you're these are the guys that are like they're your take it or leave it guys. They're nothing special, but they're not slouches either. You can win games if you have a good team around them. You can even make the playoffs, or possibly even a playoff run if you have the right team around them. You're most likely you're not going to win a Super Bowl with any of these guys, but you'll still be competitive. Um, Before we started recording this, Ben, I thought of kind of a small like thing about these quarterbacks. If you were to plug each quarterback on the same constructed team, just pick any team, place these guys, you're going to get generally the same results. You're going to be around that 7 to 10, 9 and 8 range, and you're not going to get much variance. So that's kind of this tier. And just getting right into it, at number 22, I have Jameis Winston. Um, I struggled putting him in this tier, but I feel like what he's done the past couple seasons has, even though he hasn't played full seasons, has warranted him to be in this tier because I feel like if he did play a full season, the Saints would have made some noise, whether in the postseason or just having a better outcome to their season. I don't think he's that big of a difference maker. Whether you consider that positive or negative, can't ignore that 30-30 season. But he's one of those guys at this point in his career where I feel like he has learned and is starting to protect the ball more and has become a more efficient passer, a more efficient quarterback, a guy that an offensive coordinator, excuse me, or a head coach can trust more at this stage in his career than just say 3 years ago. So I got Jameis at 22. At 21, I have Jalen Hurts. I just need to see more. I had a conversation yesterday with Simon Short, another Phantom sports writer, that he a lot of people think that what he did last year was impressive, and that's fine. He went on a late run, got the Eagles into the playoffs. But overall, I think he kind of underperformed, given his skill set, what I know he can be. And a lot of people will cling to his college career, and I'm one of those people, to be quite honest with you, because I expect a lot from Jalen Hurts. I really like Jalen Hurts, but I just feel like what he had last year, he didn't do enough with it. And people will complain, especially Eagles fans, oh, we didn't have the weapons, we didn't have this, we didn't have that. That's fine, but I don't know. Just from a guy that I know that Jalen Hurts can be, I expected more. And as a Commander fan, I'm not excited to see where he can go, but I just as a football fan, I'm excited to see what he can do because I think if he performs very well, he's good for this league. I feel like, if he bursts into superstardom, it's only going to be a good thing. So I'm excited for him. And just at this point, I want to see more from him. And I think we're going to see that because the Eagles put together a pretty good team. At 19, I have Jared, or no, wait, I skipped one. 20. 20, I have Mac Jones. Impressive rookie season. Probably by far the best rookie quarterback of the 2021 class. Um, he is efficient. He's not that flashy. And many people seem to think that this is about as good as he's going to be, even though I kind of disagree with that. I don't think he's going to launch himself into top 10 territory anytime soon, but he has set the foundation, he set the bar for himself. I think he can only get better from here. So that's going to put him a little bit higher, but at this stage, just say for argument's sake, he doesn't get any better. This is where he is right now. He needs a good team around him to be successful. He needs weapons to be successful. You got to load up around him if you want to make a deep playoff run. And 19, I have Jared Goff. I'm a lot higher on Jared Goff than a lot of other people. I just can't ignore the Rams years. Whether you want to look at that as a positive or negative, I look at it as generally a positive. Multiple playoff appearances, a Super Bowl run. You can say that the Rams underachieved while he was under center, but I'm a person like that thinks that it doesn't matter per se that the results aren't what you wanted it to be. It's just the fact that he was able to get there and still have that team competitive. He still put up those huge numbers. And, just because it didn't end the way you wanted it to doesn't mean that what he did wasn't impressive. Well, he didn't win the Super Bowl. Okay, he was also facing Tom Brady. I understand it was an old Tom Brady, and it was also partly Sean McVay too. A lot of people don't want to admit that, but it was partly Sean McVay. And, I think it was either the following year, he almost got benched for the backup in the playoffs, but I don't know. I'm a lot higher on him. I like the team that he has right now in Detroit. He has a lot of weapons. I think Detroit's kind of like a sleeper team. I know that's kind of like a hot topic right now, a hot pick that they're going to be a sleeper team, but I feel like I was kind of on this before everybody else was. But I'm excited for Jared Goff. I think he's one of these players that can get to another Super Bowl if he has the right team around him. I don't know if that's ever going to happen, but should it happen, I think he's the guy that can do that. And then I'll let you go because I think I hit 5 there, so I'll let you talk.
Yeah, and that's 4 so far. But honestly,
4. Okay.
I find myself agreeing with you more here than we did on the more elite lists right here. And again, for those of you watching us for the first time, we realize you guys are all going to have different takes than we are. Where we're kind of coming from on this list is how much do we trust the quarterback on the field? And with this middle group of guys, we really feel like there's not a lot of difference. And again, some of you are going to hate a guy on this list, and some of you are going to love a guy on this list. But in general, when you look at this group of guys, they're all really, really close together. And you mentioned that what you just said a second ago. If you put these guys in the same car, they're all going to drive about the same in the race. There's just not a whole lot of difference here. Some of them have, they're younger. Some of them are older. Some of them make a lot more money. Some of them have the advantage of a rookie contract. Some of them have a more powerful arm. Some of them are more accurate. But you line them all up all side by side, and on the whole, these guys are all very similar. And I like what you said right here about these four guys. So Mac Jones, that's a guy that on a rookie contract, I'm happy to go into games next year with if I'm the Patriots. I think I have a chance to win a lot of games. Do I think I'm going to go 13-4 and win the Super Bowl? No, but I have a chance to have a competitive season, and I'm okay with that. I don't want to pay Mac Jones a lot of money unless he shows a lot of improvement, but I'm okay with that. Jalen Hurts, like Jalen Hurts. Hurts has surprised me. I kind of was on the other end of the Hurts spectrum before he got to the NFL. He has actually surprised me. But again, he's on that rookie contract. Do I want to pay Jalen Hurts a lot of money in 2 or 3 seasons? Unless he shows us a whole lot more? No, I don't. But I think the Eagles have a chance to get to the playoffs with him this year. So I like that. I think he's competitive. And same thing with Jared Goff. I personally would be looking to trade Jared Goff during the offseason, but it's because of his money. It's because he makes a lot of money. It's not because of his play necessarily. I think he gives you a chance to win games. So I like that. And then you mentioned Jameis Winston. Winston has improved beyond what a lot of us ever thought that he could. He was so immature in college and was still immature when he showed up as a rookie in the NFL. And it has taken him a while to mature as a person and as a player, but here he is. He's a competitive quarterback. So I've got those guys basically in the same bucket here. And that is, money aside with Jared Goff, I think I have a chance to win games with these guys. I don't feel like I'm going to lose every game. I don't feel like during the off season I'm just automatically looking to upgrade these guys. So I've got them in the same bucket as you, and I think that's a fair statement for all of them. So pushing ahead, number 18 for you.
I got Jimmy Garoppolo. And the thing is, we've seen this before. It's kind of like what I was alluding to with Jared Goff. If you put the right team in place, you can make the Super Bowl. Debatable whether you can win it or not, but you can at least make it there. And the same thing happened with Jimmy Garoppolo. He had the team around him. He performed well enough to get his team in a Super Bowl. He had a lead at half, or going into the fourth quarter. He had a lead. Then that's the downside of Jimmy Garoppolo. He just kind of, and also Kyle Shanahan. That's the thing with these. This is the second time I mentioned a coach. Coaching is a huge part of these quarterbacks, and a quarterback can only overcome so much unless you're like those elite tier guys that we mentioned, in other videos, or that you'll see in other videos. These guys can't transcend bad rosters. They can't transcend bad coaching, and they can't transcend tough schedules. They just can't do it. When you're in the playoffs, in the postseason, the Super Bowl, you're splitting hairs. If you make one bad decision, it can, affect the entire game. So, as far as Jimmy Garoppolo goes and Kyle Shanahan, obviously something went wrong in that fourth quarter of that Super Bowl. And a lot of people want to blame Jimmy G. Oh, had he just completed that pass, it could be a different outcome. And that's true, but it shouldn't come down to one play. There's a whole entire 60 minutes. So I put Jimmy Garoppolo at 18, right next to Jared Goff because, of the reasons I just mentioned. They're the same guy in the aspect that if you put a good enough team around them, they can make a run. They can get you to where you want to be. Whether you actually get the result you want to or not, that's different. But they're generally the same guys. At 17, I have Baker Mayfield. Underachieving, I think, is a bit of an understatement in some aspects of Baker Mayfield's game in the past couple of seasons. And I know he made the playoffs, but this is a number 1 overall pick. You got to do better than what he's been doing. And I'm not trying to take shots per se, but he has the talent. He had the roster, especially last year, and people can attribute it to the drama with OBJ. They can attribute it to, he just knew he wasn't getting a contract with Cleveland, so he just kind of checked out. It can be a number of things, but as a quarterback, you have to be an adult. You have to put these things aside, and you have to decide what is most important to you, your own interests or the team. Considering you're the quarterback of the team and most of the stuff has to go through you, you better choose wisely. And I don't think Baker Mayfield did that, especially last year. Again, people can attribute to injuries, a number of things, but generally underachieving. Baker Mayfield has been doing since he got into the league. Some people can challenge me on that because he's on the Cleveland Browns and that organization, a lot that he's overcome. A lot of people think he should be getting more credit than he's getting. I have him at 17. You kind of tell me if I'm giving him enough credit or not. At 16, I have Carson Wentz. The talent there for me is a big reason why he's at 16 and what I know that he can be. We haven't seen a lot from Carson Wentz recently in terms of justifying that rank. But last year, that run that he had in the middle of the season, he was phenomenal. He really was. A lot of people have that bad taste in their mouth. A lot of Colts fans have that bad taste in their mouth about those last two games. And I will admit, it was an atrocious 2 games that he had. All he had to do was win 1 game. So I can understand the outrage there, but it goes back to kind of that trust thing. I don't necessarily trust him more than I do Mayfield, Garoppolo, or Goff, but that coupled with the talent and the fact that I know that he can run an offense probably better than those guys, and there is that big play potential on every deep pass. I think that gives him a bit of an edge over those guys. At 15, I have Ryan Tannehill. I think he's played better than anyone expected him to, and with the Tennessee Titans, after that kind of his run with the Dolphins. I don't think anyone necessarily expected this from Ryan Tannehill. I certainly didn't. I thought his career was over. We revived his career. He's made a couple playoff appearances. He choked last year, so that's why I have him at 15. But there were conversations I remember early in the season where, this dude could be an MVP candidate, and I thought that was a little bit of an overreaction because he has Derrick Henry in the backfield. But he was taking care of the football. He was winning them games. He wasn't losing the team any games. And when Derrick Henry went out, he was still producing, which a lot of people didn't anticipate. So, I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. I do knock him for the playoff game against the Bengals, but I think 15 is pretty average, and that's exactly what Ryan Tannehill is. Do you want to go ahead and finish, or do you want to chime in?
Let me jump in real quick. I'm right there with you on Ryan Tannehill. He was one of the guys in this group that I did rank. I ranked him number 14. So I'm just right there with you. And I know some people are going to be saying, "Oh my gosh, how can you possibly have Ryan Tannehill this high on the list?" Well, look at the list. you said it better. I think we're going to name it this. This will be the title of our series. I have to put these people somewhere.
Yeah.
And when you actually start to sit down and look at the list of people, not what you think in your head, because I think both you and I, and probably everybody who would, before we make a list like this, we think, well, that guy's not a top 10 quarterback. That guy's not a top 20 quarterback. Well, that guy's got to be in the top 20. When you actually start looking at the list and comparing these people, you have to rank them somewhere. And Ryan Tannehill deserves to be ranked this high up the list. Now, I don't think he's ever going to win an MVP. I'm not sure he'll ever win a Super Bowl, especially when he's making a lot of money. But I think he belongs on this list right here around the 14, 15 mark. And the other people we're looking at, I think, have a lot more flaws than Tannehill does. So I'm totally happy with Tannehill there at 15. You mentioned Jimmy Garoppolo at 18. Basically, same kind of level play as Jared Goff. You already mentioned that. And then I think, number 19, we already did that. Number 17, Baker Mayfield. I'm okay with Baker Mayfield when he was on his rookie contract. Now that he's making a lot more money, which now is split between 2 different teams because of the 5th-year option that they enacted, I probably wouldn't take Baker Mayfield. I'd probably be looking to get something cheaper or something better, one or the other. But when Baker Mayfield was on his rookie contract, you're right. He should have performed better with the Browns. They had chances to do it. They didn't do it. It just didn't happen. But Baker Mayfield can make plays. And you give him a good roster, I think he can lead this team. to a couple of playoff wins. He's not on a good roster, so he's
No.
not going to get the chance to do that. But anyway, Baker Mayfield would give a team a chance. You know, if you plugged him into the Rams, they would win a whole heck of a lot of games. They might not win the Super Bowl. They would win a lot of games. Same thing if you put him, you know, on the 49ers. They're going to win a lot of games. There are lots of franchises where he would fit, but eventually, because of the money and because of the inconsistency, they would be looking to upgrade. So, I think you have all these guys lined up pretty right. I'm actually a little bit surprised that we see this group of guys this similar when we actually had a lot of differences on the elite and the very good levels.
Yeah, you're right. And honestly, I would argue that if you were to plug, these mid-tier guys onto the Rams, I don't know that you get that different of results. I just don't. And I understand Stafford is that I consider him an elite guy. I don't know. I remember if you did or not. I
I had
consider
him
him
next
one
tier
of,
down. Yeah.
yeah. So there's a difference of one tier there between, what you consider Matt Stafford, who won the Super Bowl with the Rams, versus these guys that we're currently talking about. Now, I don't know that they win the Super Bowl against the Bengals, but just say you drop in Baker Mayfield there. I still think there's a good chance they get to the Super Bowl, at least the NFC Championship game. And that's not a slight on Matt Stafford by any means. I'm just saying the Rams roster is that good that if you have a competent quarterback back there, you're going to win a lot of games. You're going to win some playoff games. So you put a Jimmy G back there, you put a Baker Mayfield, a Carson Wentz, a Ryan Tannehill, you're going to win a lot of games, and you're going to potentially win a lot of playoff games. So, I don't disagree with you at all.
All right. Well, that brings us, I think, if I'm looking right down to, you had Tannehill at 15, and that leads us right into number 14 for you. I think I know who that's going to be, but let's go ahead and see it.
Kirk Cousins. Yeah, you got it?
That's who I figured. Yep.
Yep. Kirk Cousins. God, a lot of people want to say Jamarcus Russell robbed the NFL. No. It is Kirk Cousins, my friend. You know, it's difficult as a Washington fan to not root for Kirk Cousins, but to just kind of put him any higher than what he is. Because we know as Washington fans, he has a better roster, or he has had a better roster, generally speaking, in Minnesota. And he got a playoff win, fine. But results haven't been that much different than what he was getting in Washington. And he's getting paid 3-4 times the amount he was when he was playing here. Exception of the franchise tags. And the Vikings are stuck. They can't do anything. They're like, well, we don't have a better option available to us. We definitely don't want to reboot. So, or rebuild, sorry. We don't want to rebuild because we have talent and we're a couple pieces away. One of those pieces is quarterback. And Kirk Cousins is a fine quarterback. He played very well last year. He was one of the, at some point in the season last year, he was considered one of the best quarterbacks statistically speaking. And he'll do that. But when it comes to wins and losses, he's always going to be around that 9-8, 8-9. I don't see the Vikings ever topping out or getting more than 10 or 11 wins. I just don't see it. And that is enough to get to the playoffs, yeah. But once you get there, you might win one game. You're definitely not going to win two. You're not going to get to the Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins. Again, the Vikings have had some good teams. They've had some good rosters. I haven't been able to do anything with it. So Kirk Cousins is probably a little higher than I want him to be completely honest with you. But he has more talent than some of the other guys below him. And he's been more consistent in the regular season than some of these other guys. So I kind of give him a pass there. And then 13, I have Derek Carr. I don't like calling him a meh guy. I want to push him up to that, that next tier. But it's kind of like some of these other guys. I just haven't seen enough yet. that sounds weird because he's like in his 30s at this point, but I haven't seen enough of him, in some of these bigger games. And a lot of people are considering him as a top 10 quarterback now, or at least in that top 12 range. I have him just outside of that. Once he gets we haven't seen him much in the playoffs. And to be quite honest with you, I don't remember how he played last year in the play. The Raiders made the playoffs, didn't they?
Yeah, they lost. I think they lost to the Bengals. Correct. Pretty good game. Am I
Yeah,
remembering that correct?
yeah. Now I remember. Yeah, and I don't remember how he played. It was probably pretty decent, but
Yeah.
he ultimately they didn't get the win. And I understand the Bengals made it to the Super Bowl, but quarterbacks are judged on wins and losses, right or not, whatever. I like Derek Carr. He has a lot of talent. He can vault himself up into that top 10. I really think he has the ability to do that, but he just hasn't done it yet. And I feel like not time's ticking on it, but you're like, come on, dude. You got the big contract now. You have a pretty good offense in place. I feel like you got to start producing some straight seasons, like consecutive seasons of getting to the playoffs and actually doing something once you're in.
It's a fair point there with Derek Carr, who I actually like. I've got him at number 11. I think we've already talked about that to some degree. But we're not far off there on Derek Carr. He's produced a lot. Unfortunately for him, he's got a good team going into this season, but so does the rest of the AFC. It's not going to be easy if this were going to be the year. If he can hang on to another season or two, when those heavy contracts start to hit the AFC and start to kind of weigh down some of those rosters who have a chance to win this year, but over the next 2 or 3 seasons, the money starts to hit on those high end contracts. Maybe he gets another chance to make a run to the Super Bowl. I don't see it this year. I'm gonna talk about 3 guys. One guy who I would probably take off of your list, and then probably 2 guys I would probably add in, and then you can carry it from there. The one guy I would probably take off the list is Kirk Cousins. You got him at number 14. From a statistical standpoint, he absolutely deserves to be there. From a performance standpoint, he's fine. I think for me, and I think this is the same thing I mentioned about Jared Goff, maybe. I don't remember which guy. It's just too much money. It's so much money. You could take that money. I'd rather take that money and give it to a rookie quarterback whose performance probably wouldn't be a whole lot less, and spread that money around somewhere else around the roster and upgrade other parts. So nothing really against Kirk Cousins performance wise, but I would be looking to upgrade simply because of the money, which by the way the Vikings can't do now because they signed him to a 2-year extension, and basically he's locked in for the next 2 seasons. So don't look for that to happen anytime soon. 2 guys I would add in, and these are both I think second-year guys who really did not look good at all in their rookie seasons, and that is Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I don't think these 2 guys have had a chance yet to show what they can do. They certainly didn't show it last year with the Bears and with the Jaguars. I really liked Trevor Lawrence coming out of college. I still think he has a chance to be a top quarterback. Maybe not as good as I thought he was going to be, but I still think he can have a very good chance. So I would put him in the bucket of I'm happy to go through the next 2 seasons with him because I believe in what he can do, and he's not making much money. So that's really where I'm looking at there. Certainly, he hasn't proved that on the NFL field. And the other guy for me would be Justin Fields with the Bears. He's not going to get a chance to show this year what he can do. They're going to have the worst offensive line in football, and it's probably not even going to be close. It is a colossal disaster. They're really not treating him fair here. They brought him on a team that's been building up for defense for years, and that defense is starting to get a little bit older. In fact, some of the guys are starting to kind of peel off now from what we saw 4 seasons ago. They've done really nothing to upgrade the offensive line, not through free agency, not through the draft. It's going to be a disaster. But I think Justin Fields, if you plugged him into a Patriots team, or you plugged him into the Rams, or you plugged him into fill in the blank, he may not be the most accurate guy, but he's accurate enough. He's got a very powerful arm. He can get to all points of the field and challenge defensive backs down the field. And he's mobile. He can really move around and pick up yards that way too. So I like Justin Fields. I would put him in this bucket. Where would I rank him? I don't know. Maybe around number 20, 22, something like that. Those are guys that I would just throw in largely again because of the money that's starting to kick in here. And I didn't mention the money with the elite guys because we know the very second that they get the chance to make money, they're going to make a lot of it. But I think it really starts to matter here when you're dealing with an average guy and you're paying them a boatload of money. I think that really starts to matter here with these mid-tier guys. So any thoughts on any of that or anything else you want to add to this mid-tier level?
So the Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence thing, the viewers already know I have them ranked lower than probably you want them to be. I have Trevor Lawrence ranked at 27. I have Justin Fields ranked at 29.
Mm-hmm. Which is where they played last year, by the way. Statistically,
exactly.
That's where they are. Yes.
Yeah. And that's not necessarily a slight at them at what they can be. It's just what they are right now. And it's also, Mac Jones probably played higher than what he's currently ranked at 20, but he was a rookie. He's going into his second year. I need to see it again. Did he have, maybe did he play better than he was going to do for the rest of his career? I think it's improbable, but there's still that chance. We've seen before where rookies play very impressive, very well, and then they kind of flame out. We've seen that before. So I don't put much stock into a rookie season. I personally, I thought this was going to happen with Justin Herbert. I was like, because I wanted to like him more than I did with him coming out of college, but I just heard too much, stuff coming out about him. And I was like, man, I didn't, there was just too much stuff. And I was like, man, I really want to like this guy. And then I thought his rookie year was going to be an aberration. I was very wrong about it. And I just don't want to be wrong about any of these guys. I want to give, Mac Jones some more credit. I want to give Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields more credit than what they deserved based on their play last year. But I can't because, they're only rookies, and I don't rank them any lower because, they were rookies and they played on bad teams. Like you said, Justin Fields, he's all types of screwed there in Chicago, and I think he knows it. And I think the team knows it, unfortunately, and they don't really seem to care much.
They don't seem to care.
They really don't seem to care. They're like, yeah, we drafted your first round pick. You're supposed to overcome this stuff. And to agree, he is supposed to. But you get what you put into these guys. And Justin Fields, unfortunately, I think he's going to be one of these quarterbacks that just gets ruined by where he ended up. And it's unfortunate because I think he had a lot of potential. That being said, that while I feel bad for him, I can't rank him in that tier because, even if he struggles this year, he's still going to be in the same place. For me, I have to go by what I see. We can, like I said, with a lot of these guys, we can blame the coaching staff. We can blame it on bad roster. We can blame it on injuries. We can blame it on a number of factors. The fact of the matter is, what we see is what we see. There's nothing can change that. So I have to keep them that low. I'd like to put them in that meh tier because I think they're in that meh tier, and then they can explode onto the scene once they actually get some of the pieces right, or once they continue to develop. I just can't put them there right now.
And to be fair, and I think the viewers already know this, but you're basically sticking to what we laid out when we first did this list, and that is, how much do we trust these guys right now? Not a year ago, not 5 years from now. How much do we trust these guys right now? And I'm the one who's kind of started to add a little bit of a nuance to this list, especially in the middle tiers. Again, I don't think I mentioned money at all when it came to the top 14 guys for me. But I personally, from a philosophy roster building standpoint, I would much rather have a guy on a rookie contract who I think can make me competitive. So we're talking about Mac Jones, Jalen Hurts, Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields. I'm going to toss Kenny Pickett in there. And one other guy, I can't find him at the moment. I would rather have one of those guys who's making not nothing, but very tiny money than I would to have another kind of a guy who's somewhere in the average category, but his money is way up here. So we're talking literally, and some people may not know this. I think most people do. Somebody like Mac Jones or somebody like Justin Fields, they're making somewhere around $2 to $6 million a season. People like sorry, people like Jared Goff and people like Jimmy Garoppolo, people like that, they're making somewhere around $25-30 million a year. And in some cases, those are even restructured contracts in which they were originally supposed to make $35 million a year. So it's a huge salary thing that has, basically existed since 2011. And me personally, I'd rather just have a competitive rookie on tight money. If I can't have a top guy, that's my number one option, of course. But if I can't have that, I'd rather have the guy that gives me a chance on low money. So that's kind of what I've added here to the list. All right. Anything else you want to hit while we're covering this middle group of guys here? And we've got another group of guys coming. Anything else you want to hit on this middle group?
Nope, I'm all good. But I just do want to mention, just kind of to piggyback off the last point you made there. I kind of already mentioned about Simon Short. I was on his podcast yesterday, and we vehemently disagree about Carson Wentz and our ranking of him and who he is as a quarterback right now in this stage of his career. He asked me a question. Would you rather right now, if you were building a team today, would you rather have Carson Wentz on his current deal or Trevor Lawrence? Obviously, I said Trevor Lawrence. Obviously, if you're building a team, you want the guy on the rookie contract that has a lot of potential. For God's sakes, he was a number one pick as well. And he has a massive pedigree, bigger than Carson Wentz's ever was.
Yeah.
That being said, if I was playing a game today, if I needed a win today, I'm picking Carson Wentz every day, all day. And again, that's not a slight at Trevor Lawrence. I just haven't seen enough from him at the pro level yet. So obviously he's going to rank higher in my rankings than Trevor Lawrence would. Simon thought different, but he also kind of had more of your philosophy based on money, contract, and potential. And that's fine. I'm not going to argue that part because obviously I'm going to want the rookie guy instead of a guy I'm paying $28.3 million to and had to trade assets to get him. I'm not going to do that. So, Washington did, but, they did what they had to do. So I agree with your points. It's just, right now, I would rather trust if I need to win a game, like if I have a competitive team, right? If I have the roster, like for example, the Colts. Well, let's take the Colts, for example. The Colts probably in an ideal world would want to draft a rookie quarterback and put that money elsewhere instead of paying Matt Ryan. It was I know they restructured, but it was going to be the highest, annual salary of a quarterback that had, to this point had ever received. Obviously, he's not worth that money. Not many quarterbacks are at this point. So, but they have a team in place and they think that they can be competitive. So then naturally they trade for him and just try to plug and play him. So I understand the contract situation, but it also depends on the team that you have around them.
And I'll even add more to that because those of you still watching appreciate it. This is stuff that real people have to make decisions on every day. And I will say this on the Carson Wentz thing: if I was a guy, let's take the Colts for instance. If I don't know that the Colts front office or head coaching staff is on the hot seat, I don't think they are, but I'm sure another bad season or another disappointing end might push them off in that direction. And who really wants to go through that with a rookie quarterback? You'd rather have somebody who's been through the wars and been through the fight. So if I'm a head coach and I know for sure that my job is on the line this year, I'd much rather have some kind of a veteran, maybe not making $30 or $40 million, maybe $20, $25 million, who gives me at least a chance to win these games versus a rookie quarterback who hasn't yet shown that he belongs in the league. So this is real people's jobs. In some cases, I see this a lot more with general managers. They are just trying to survive from one season to the next. And sometimes that means making a decision that helps you out right now instead of a decision that might help you out more over the next 3 to 5 years, because you don't know if you're going to be in that spot in 3 to 5 years. You're just trying to hang on right now. So I'm all with you when it comes to that Carson Wentz bit. And any time that you have a decision to make like this, what's best for the long run might not be what keeps you your job over the next season. So much to think about there. We could talk about it all night. All right, Robertson, tell everybody where they can find you at, and I'll add on a few more things after that.
You can go read my articles at phantomsportsindustries.com. And also follow me on Twitter at RELVIAR99.
And while I'm finding the stop recording button, we thank you all for watching us. You can catch us here, whichever platform you're watching, Sports and Money. We have 2 Sports and Money YouTube channels. We have Phantom Sports YouTube channel. We mentioned Simon Short more than once. Go check out his podcast. We have the In the Flat podcast behind me that's on Apple or Spotify. And then, of course, Phantom Sports has not only the YouTube channel, but the website as well. We have a lot going on. We have content everywhere. We're getting better every day. We're getting more organized. But I thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you next time. Have a great one. Bye.